if we could do the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think what we'll do is we'll go through these one by one. If there's any discussion, or if we have no discussion, we'll move on to the next one, if that makes sense. Article 1 is always to choose a moderator. I don't think we need to go over that. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to maintain and exercise, if appropriate, its right to take alewives from the New Meadow Lake consistent with the terms and conditions specified at the March 1977 town meeting. Any discussion? Any questions? Do you want to read?
Sure. To see if the town will vote to maintain a fishway on Winnegans Lake and to exercise its right to take alewives from Winnegans Lake in accordance with terms and conditions specified in the June 1988 town meeting and in agreement with the City of Bath and the town of Pittsburgh. This is riveting stuff, huh?
Oh, sure, sorry. We're in municipal fiscal management. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to fix the date of October 15th, 2025 as a date when taxes shall become due and payable, and to charge a 7.5% interest rate as allowed by 36 MRSA 505-4, the state maximum rate on unpaid taxes to start after that date. Any questions?
Article number 5, to see if the town will vote to set the rate of interest to be paid by the town on refunds of taxes that are paid but later evaded at 3.5%, as allowed by 36 MRSA 506A, the state maximum rate less 4%, and to authorize such interest paid or abatements granted to be appropriated from overlay funds or, if necessary, from unassigned fund balance. Any questions?
Article 6, to see if the town will vote to apply the unassigned fund balance surplus in excess of 12% of the total non-capital expenditures for fiscal year 24-25 and not otherwise appropriated herein to reduce the tax commitment for the coming ensuing fiscal year.
Any discussion?
Article 7, to see if the town, in accordance with 36 MRSA 506, will vote to authorize the tax collector to accept payment of taxes not yet committed and to pay no interest on any excess prepaid over the amount finally committed. Any other?
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to sell and dispose of all tax-acquired property held by the town in accordance with 36 MRS 943-C.
Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to direct the treasurer to waive the foreclosure of tax lien mortgages pursuant to 36 MRSA section 944 if it determines to be such course of action to be in the best interest of the town.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to apply for state, federal, and other grants on behalf of the town for municipal purposes, including, when necessary, the authority to execute contracts and related documents, and to accept conditions of approval, and to appropriate and expend such funds for authorized purposes as the select board deems in the best interest of the town during the ensuing fiscal year.
Article 11, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept or reject donations of personal property and/or gifts of money to the various accounts of the town for ensuing fiscal year and to appropriate those monies donated for specific purposes.
Article 12, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept or reject conditional or unconditional gifts of real property, provided that no single gift will obligate the town to incur liabilities that total $1,000 or more per year as determined by the select board.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to dispose of town-owned personal property with a value of over $500 as deemed by the select board to be surplus.
Article 14, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to annually set fees for return checks, copies of town ordinances and other documents, permits, license and land use application fees, notary services, and other various fees.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to transfer funds from budget accounts that have unexpended balances at the end of fiscal year 24-25 to budget accounts that have overruns at the end of 24-25, provided that any such transfer is not more than 10% of the funds appropriated under the municipal budget, and any such transfer is first approved at a properly called public meeting of the select board.
Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $315,857 for wages and stipends. Last year's allocation was $315,506. Any questions?
So this states it's a 5% increase, is that true for all? Every position in there is a 5% increase?
Julie, do you know if that's accurate?
Codes?
At the bottom, it says, except for firefighters, ballot clerks, and planning board members.
That's in a different.
Right, because those
article.
aren't on that list.
Codes and clerk got an additional that I requested. But every position is 5%.
At least 5%.
Yes.
And then codes got more.
Mhm.
Was that
Clerk.
percentage?
It was a flat,
5,000-ish?
it's under 5,000,
Yeah, I think it's
just
like,
under 4.
right, it's like a 14% increase for codes for this year.
We compared it to other towns.
And the clerk,
That as well, and the duties she's performed.
okay, just checking, because at the bottom it says it was a 5% increase for all, which isn't exactly accurate.
Except for those two.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I should have noted that.
Should we fix that for, or can we fix that for, no?
It's already been posted.
Any other, comments, questions on that article?
Just a question. So it's a 5% increase, but really last year was $300 less.
We've had some different people come into roles.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $180,878 for insurance and benefits. Last year was $180,096. Any questions on Article 17?
Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $186,185 for town administration expenses. Last year's appropriation, $184,300.
Article 19, to see if the town will vote.
We have a question.
I'm sorry.
on 19.
sorry. I just had a general question, which usually someone asks by now, so I'm gonna ask it. What is the amount increase for this budget versus last year in dollars, the percentage, and then the anticipated mill rate change if all of these things pass as they are?
Well, so for the town is a school, the town is a school, and the county. Like,
Everything. The overall budget, I think, would be good. Just so that we know, is it going up, is it going down, is it 3%, is it 9%, is it,
well, so
because there's no total on
So
this.
the county went up start with, so the county went up from last year, they were 11,700,000, oh, that's for the whole account, but you want to just count, or just what's there?
No, the whole budget.
So the county last year was 925,573 for West Bath. This year, it went to 1,073,037, which is a 9.88% increase for the county. Town,
Right, we have a total for the town budget, everything.
so the town went down by, I want to say 270,000. Give me a second. Julie, do you have that number?
She's frantically trying to search for it.
I think Julie's got it somewhere, right?
The town and school, town went down 8.97%. The county went up, set 9.8%
9.88.
after working with the budget committee. And the school percent,
4.8.
4.89 increase.
So what was the budget last year? Total budget, town, county, and school.
That's the one sheet I didn't update
No, I was
down.
just thinking I had that earlier.
So give me a second, I will tell you.
I just think it's good for us to know where we started and where we're headed, and if we're going up, if we're flat, if it's going down. Steve usually asks, what's up,
I was
Steve?
here late.
Julie, what did you use for the town's number? What was it?
Last year was 2,114,189. This year, 1,924,596.91.
And the school was 4,344,211.97 last year, and this year they are 4,556,685. So last year, our total budget was 7,383,973.
Wait, 739,
7,383,973.
973, thank you.
And this year is 7,555,318. And the proposed current mill rate, last year's mill rate was 8.2, and this year's mill rate is 8.6.
Based on last year's property valuation. Okay, those numbers have not been updated yet, so that will go down a little bit.
Right, no, I know, it does adjust a little bit, but, so we're going up 0.4 probably, maybe.
Any other questions on Article 18?
We're on.
Thank you.
19, okay. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to appropriate all dog licensing fees and penalties collected during the fiscal year 2025, 2026, with the exception of the recording fee that must be retained by the municipal clerk pursuant to state law as additional payment to the animal control officer for services rendered to the town. Any comment?
Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 for legal fees. Last year, we appropriated $20,000.
21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $2,000 for general assistance. Last year's allocation, $2,000.
Public Works Department, Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $859,000 for Public Works. Last year was $1,113,260. Any questions?
Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $16,600 for sanitation. Last year, it was $16,600.
24, to see if the town will vote to transfer all remaining unexpended funds at the end of fiscal year 24-25 from the Public Works Department to Public Works Department Capital Fund for future capital expenditures. Yes.
I guess I would ask why. We still have our investment fund, which is like our rainy day fund or our emergency fund, so why would taxpayer money that didn't get spent in a fiscal year be rolled over to be added to the next year, in addition to more taxpayer money being raised when we have that extra fund, investment fund for emergencies?
So we liquidated all of the surplus accounts this past year. So this is to, also I believe to help build up surplus should there be any. We used all of surplus to help bring our taxes down.
For 24-25, you mean? Right, so why would you set aside money in a capital fund for roadways?
We have no surplus in there. We just.
Why do we need a surplus when we have $600,000 in an investment fund?
That we have a roof on the school that's gonna come out of that. There's things that we have.
But if you're rolling it over into the roadway capital improvement fund, then it's not gonna be used on the school roof.
But the investment
400
account
of the
will.
600,000 in the bank account will
Yeah.
be. And
I
the
guess
stock
my,
market is a bit volatile, and we're not sure what that return is gonna be, as opposed to lowering taxes and then needing capital and spiking. This helps flatten it out.
you're not lowering taxes.
There's also not that huge spike when there's so many capital projects that needs to come up.
So if we think 400,000 for a roof, the way things are going, it could be 600,000 for that roof. It's so volatile. We have no idea what that roof is gonna cost us. We have said that investment money would go to the school roof. It's something that's gonna need to be done. I don't know, a week from now, it could double.
Yeah, I get that the roof needs to be done. It's just the question of, the town can take loans, the town can use the investment money, the town can use a bunch of different things. In the meantime, we've got slush funds, which taxpayers in this room are paying extra taxes on, to have them sit there for the rainy day fund when you have an investment fund which has money in it, and that there are banks out there that would loan us money if we had issues. I'm a real non-proponent for extra bunches of cash everywhere, because those bunches of cash are what increase our taxes every year, just for them to sit there.
And I think if you, and I hear what you're
We had a
saying.
hand,
Sorry,
Suzanne.
I didn't see that.
The capital improvement fund actually earned about 5% last year, so that was $33,000. But the existence of that fund worked as a loan fund, so that we could do big capital projects without paying interest and fees
Right,
on bonds,
right.
which saves you a lot of money. I mean, the tax anticipation note that we had to take out last year, briefly, the interest rate on that was 7%. So there's a huge favorable return relative to paying those interest and fees
So we're gonna-
with the capital improvement fund money.
So we're gonna raise the mill rate so we can have money sitting in the bank.
But you got to
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I do.
There's a big differential that you're saving by having that money available to do the school roof, $500,000. Right, or the
Yes.
salt shed.
Yes. How much is in the investment fund now?
It's, 700,000.
And the roof is like 450.
Four.
Well, in today's quote.
Call it 5.
Okay. Well, and I guess, and I know you have your hand up, I just want to, I hear what you're.
I'm not saying don't fund
No.
the roof. I'm not happy with all the extra accumulation of money and funds when the tax rate still keeps going up.
I hear what you're saying. I think if you look at, what our town administrator has been able to achieve this year, as we transition to some new positions in the town hall, and we've reduced the excess from the road department, which is a significant road, but we came down 200,000 and change because there was a fluff factor in there from a previous year that was not utilized. So I think with Julie as our town administrator, she's been able to pay attention to what the costs are, what the demands are, and really accommodate as flat a line item and reducing excess, and like we did in the road department. In theory, that could have transitioned into a capital fund, but we didn't even allocate it to that department this year, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and it's not a slight against anyone, it's a fundamental problem with costing all of the taxpayers more money to have more money sitting there when we have quite a bit of money sitting there. That's my thing, and Julie, I think you do a great job. It's nothing to do with any of that. I think she's done a great job this year with the money.
We had a question here first.
Just more of a comment. I'm reading the article as the intent is that in Articles 22 and 23, we spent that money. The intention of Article 24 is just if there are unexpended funds, this is what's going to happen to them. Not that we're intentionally leaving unexpended funds to put in an account, but just in the event that there are, that's what happens with them.
Right.
So it's not like there could very well not be any unexpended funds. It's just if there are, what to do with them.
And
David?
again, even though we have these numbers on here, they could be really inflated.
Right.
We just don't.
How many accounts do we roll over? Two, right?
Two, right?
Fire department and roads, and that's it.
Right.
And I understand that in the fire department's case, they're looking to maybe replace the utility truck, and they would need cash on hand if one used one becomes available
Correct.
to go after that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, where are we at?
I think,
We are on 25.
and did you read 24? Is that yours? Okay. Article 25. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $339,922 for protection. Last year, we had $210,000 plus $60,980, totaling $277,190 for per diem, which includes per diem, is included in this article. And
Why don't we roll 26 in with that, and then we'll discuss it.
okay, then Article 26 is, it's to see if the town will vote to transfer all remaining but unexpended funds at the end of fiscal year 2024-2025 from fire department operations to fire department capital funds for future capital, building, vehicle, and/or equipment expenditures.
Any discussion on those two articles?
Did that happen last year? Was there extra left over last year?
We haven't had our audit yet. We're very behind since COVID.
And it doesn't seem to catch up ever. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following as donations to community agencies: Bath Senior Citizens, $950, Bath Area Food Bank, $2,000, Spectrum Generations, $1915, Sweetsa, $2,292, New Hope for Women, $820, for a total of $7,977. Last year was $7,901, so an increase of $76. Any discussion on that?
Article 28, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $44,517 for library funding. Last year, $41,332. The Budget Committee has not reviewed this article, and we will ask for a written ballot at town meeting.
So I'll just ask the public, should we roll 28 and 29 together, or you want to do them separately?
I think you have to do them separately, don't you?
Could you explain to us what our options are here?
All right, let's
Explain
start
them
with,
together,
let's start with
separately?
28 then. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions on 28, the funding piece of it? Yes.
Just to clarify, I believe I'm right, that this bylaw can be amended on the floor with 2/3 of the vote of the town meeting, not for less money, but they want to change the title on the way the money's spent, it can be amended on the floor.
Kristen said yes.
Yes. Our attorney has said yes.
So, this was tied to questions raised to me that I shared into a select board meeting on the choice of going to solely to the full allocation going to the tax-free library, or do we want to pursue library choice? Those are kind of the two differences that we put here from that perspective. And from the numbers that I've received from the library, the current utilization from Bath residents is 426 cardholders. And at the $85 out-of-town rate, the difference between the $44,515 would be a savings of $8,300 if we paid on a per card basis.
So we're on Article 29 now?
Well, it's really the cost of the Article 28, but the difference between the two.
So can you say that statement again, please?
So from the information I received from the library, I asked how many cardholders were active cardholders in West Bath for a 12-month time frame. For the $44,515, there are 426 cardholders, which takes the cardholder rate to $104.50.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's that number of people who use the library.
Those were active cardholders that took books out.
You don't have to use a
Physical-
card to
physical
use the
books.
library.
No, to take a book out, you do.
Right, but I'm saying that that number, whatever that number is, that does not mean those are the only numbers who used the library and accessed all programs that the library might have that don't require a card.
Sure, from not only from West Bath, but anyone who walks through that front door. That is accurate.
Thank you.
Joanne, you had your hand up.
I was just curious, did they ask for that amount? That's, yeah.
Yes,
And what's their endowment?
it's over 8 million. I don't know it off the top of my head. Darling?
I can help with that, actually. So I am on the budget committee, full disclosure, this is not the budget committee's opinion, this is mine. They come before us every year, they have a very large endowment, which they use to support the library. I support the library. I have just now decided that I don't really like the way that the library comes at us for this money, and I think that people should have a choice where they go. They came to us this year. The facts are they have $8.4 million in their endowment. They raised $1.5 million in addition to that, and they're doing upgrades to the building for solar panels, mini splits, and some other things. They shared that with us. They were very excited that they had raised $1.5 million, which is a good thing. They came in.
The $1.5 million is outside of the.
Is in addition to the 8.4, excuse me. They are also in a fundraising to do another $1.5 million for some other improvements in the library. They have a new, it's Leslie, and then they have a new financial director, a gentleman, I forget his name, David, I don't know if you remember, but he came in and the very first thing that he said was, the towns have not been paying their share and that is gonna change. So it was one of those things where I just think $44,500 is a lot. I think a really big endowment like that, plus another $3 million they're raising, they could at some point decide that they're not gonna keep on raising the prices for everyone. I asked them at what point, because their endowment last year was like 7.8, so it went up. And so I asked specifically, at what point do you feel that your endowment is at a high enough level that you'll stop increasing the amounts for the towns? Because, you know, you would think at some point that might happen. And the finance director said, oh, if we did that, our money would be gone in 15 years. And I was asking for just a cap and what that would look like. And if you take the 8.4 million, you divide that by the 385,000 they asked for towns this year, which is an increase from last year, it would take 22 years with no one giving them any money for that endowment to be gone. So it wasn't really very accurate.
Is that assuming that nothing changes as far as inflation?
Absolutely,
budget?
absolutely. But my whole question was, you know, at what point do you have enough money that you're gonna leave the rates flat for townspeople?
What do you suppose he meant by the towns have not been paying their share and that's gonna change? What did he base that comment on?
They
You
gave
have
us,
numbers,
they
you
gave
have
us,
data?
they gave us a chart, and in the chart said, how much per capita in a bunch of towns in Maine that it costs to run a library. And they had ones on there for Falmouth and, you know, big towns with a lot of people in them, that it was $60 and something cents. I think they're charging us 23, something like that. But if you looked at the towns that had the same, like, amount of people, we were somewhere about where we should be. You know, you'd have to ask him what he meant by that. It sounded to me like we were gonna be going up a lot every year.
It's a pretty aggressive comment, and if he didn't have data to back it up,
He
he'd
did. They
give us
had-
an agenda.
They had the sheets, but again, it was all kinds of, bigger towns, more affluent towns than West Bath.
Well, it seems to me we
Falmouth's
should be
kind of
concerned
on-
with the 5 towns that are associated with the Patent Free Library.
I wouldn't disagree.
We have a hand up over here.
I mean, I'm the libertarian, I'm one of the trustees, and I was present at the budget advisory committee meeting. And just to clarify for the record, that was Tommy Davis is the chair of the finance committee. So he's a volunteer and a trustee at the library. I'm not a budget expert. Yes, there is a generous endowment, but that's what allows the rates to be, they passed a policy at the trustee level that no more than 5% would be used to, which is good fiscal policy. So the fact that there's an endowment there at all is what allows the municipal rate to be as low as it is. And I've got some of the data here that I'm happy to share. I don't have copies of everything. But Patent Free Library actually does have one of the lower rates, you know, certainly compared to Curtis. So what Tommy was trying to present, and it obviously didn't come off very well. So I think one of the things I'm gonna say, sort of moving forward, I hope the relationship stays, but we gotta do a better job. I mean, I think in terms of having this back and forth and how we come to budget advisory committee, I mean, it's been problematic. But what's been happening is that and again, I'm probably not gonna explain this exactly correctly, but the endowment, let's see, how am I gonna say this? Say it right. Well, first of all, the market's not stable, so I think everybody recognizes that. And so with that going down and there's concerns that we're not gonna be able to have the same amount of draw. So there's concerns that way. And then the other aspect of it is the municipal funding. This was really meant as a general philosophy across the board. And so probably over time, you're gonna need to have a higher participation, because for the whole budget, it's about a third, even less, that comes from municipal funding. And Patton Free Library is not a municipal library, and Curtis is. It gets some of they do get some of their funding from fundraising, but Patton Free Library has to do a lot of it. But it's not, the idea is not to spend on the endowment. That's not how endowments work. So I think that would be a simple answer. But Tommy was talking about a funding model that the Board of Trustees at Patton Free Library has been examining to see how it's going to be sustainable.
Well, and I received some information I was actually unaware of also from someone who, and so the three of us that sit up here field questions and concerns from all of our community. And certainly folks are concerned with the cost generically that the mill rate keeps going up, and they're trying to figure out how they can make ends meet on a fixed income. And with the library, there's a Maine reciprocal borrowing program that has 67 libraries in it. That if you had a card at Topsom Library, you could actually go to any one of the 67 libraries for free. And I asked, would the Patton Free Library consider this? And that actually was not really in a plan for them to add to that engagement. And when I look at, the warrant article on 27 where we had the food bank asking for a fixed $2,000, and that's been that way for the past 3 or 4 years, they actually lost funding, yet the draw on West Bath utilization from the food bank has increased. And when I look at, when I calculated the cost of the 426 cardholders at the projected $85 rate going to this year from the $60 rate last year, and to have an $8,300 premium to fund that library in a bulk funding package when we've got the food bank struggling and lost funding, and our community request on that has gone up year over year, and the residents that are concerned on how they're going to make ends meet, that's what I look at my job is for this community, is to try and help everyone make their ends meet, is how I'm looking at it. So I look at, I'm not against the library. I know a lot of you think I am. I'm actually for the library. I'm for library choice. I think, we've got 25% of our students are utilizing school choice. We're at our limit of what comes with that educational strategy. We should allow them to use a library that complements their school choice engagement. I think we're limiting that. Mr. Hennessy?
Just to be clear though, the food bank, the town of West Bath has supported it, and the food bank requested $2,000.
They lost funding.
That's all they requested.
They lost funding since that $2,000 request.
But that's what they requested from the town, and the budget committee had no problems recommending that amount. If they requested $3,000 or $4,000, we probably would have recommended that too. So that's what, that $2,000 is what they requested, not anymore.
I didn't say that we met the request, but I look at when the utilization and people have a need, I'm concerned that there's other avenues that we could accommodate.
I'm concerned with the idea of equating library usage with these 400 and some cards. I'm concerned with library choice and treating our libraries as though they're Apple stores, or you're dissatisfied with this service, you're going to take your business elsewhere. This is our community library. My children go here. It is a vital third space outside of school, outside of the home, where kids can go and be safe. They can go and be kids. To threaten pulling funding because you're not happy, we are not, members of the town are not happy with policy decisions taken in the library is very reprehensible to me. And, I mean, I take serious issue with the idea that we're going to say, this is an $8,000, bridge when we all use the, many of us use the library for things, beyond taking out books, whether it's community events, job services, using computers, kids just being able to be kids, read books, sit there, be there after school. It's far beyond a library card.
Thank you. You're here. I agree.
Just one other point. If you're running a business, you need to have a budget. You need to know how much money is going in, how much is coming out. If we have the free choice, the library doesn't know how much money they're gonna have to work with over the year. Seems to me that if you're running something like that, you need to know how much is going in and coming out, to predict how much is going to come in.
You had your hand up.
Yes,
Yeah, earlier, you individually seem to be the one that's for, sense of the pulse of these citizens out there who apparently are dissatisfied with the BathTown library.
I've never said anyone's dissatisfied with the library, ever.
Really?
I'm talking about the cost of going there.
Simple cost. Well,
what
okay,
is
then my point is that you are being penny wise, pound foolish. Okay, you're worrying about a few dollars here, a few dollars there, without keeping the broader vision of community sense in mind. That's known as penny wise, pound foolish. History tells us many, many times that what goes round comes round. And I just view all of this as being very petty. You are not just lining the pockets with pennies of West Bath citizens, but you are taking incredibly important services away from the library. Not just West Bath, but Bath, Rouseat, Georgetown, Woolwich, because if we don't provide the money that West Bath has provided, and hopefully West Bath will continue to provide for an incredibly important part of our community, then the library will not be able to provide the free services that benefit all of these municipalities I've discussed. And they're going to remember that.
This is for people to vote at the meeting. This is.
Yes,
it's for democracy for people. Let the community speak with what their plan is. The vote at the town meeting is for them to voice their opinion.
I fully intend to.
My name is Evelyn Murphy, and I've been here for approximately 5 years in West Bath. I couldn't believe that you voted to deny people the right to vote at a town meeting whether or not to continue funding for the library. You personally...
How did I deny a vote?
You took advantage of when one of your colleagues was there, not there on April 17th. And if the crowd had not objected, you would have let it stand that the people of West Bath would not have been able to vote on Article 28 at all.
I'm encouraging a vote. I'm encouraging it to be.
No, but you didn't initially.
You didn't second it.
You didn't second it. You did that personally.
Suzanne,
And I
you're
find that really reprehensible.
You're entitled to your opinion, for sure.
We are, and I suspect a lot of people in this room.
Absolutely. That's what the point of democracy is, yes.
Sarah Durant, you mentioned a potential savings. Can you remind me what that was?
It was taking the 426 card holders,
Yeah, total amount, what it was.
80 times $85 for a library card. That's what the going rate will be
And what
next
is
year.
the percentage of our total budget, and how would that change the mill rate?
I'd have to
I
calculate.
think it's very small.
It is.
I think the value that patent free library, again, to what everyone else has said, is much greater than the savings that would be provided by changing the library choice. So I don't think, I very much respect the concept of evaluating cost savings and trying to bring tax rate, or minimize the increase in tax rate, but this doesn't move the needle on that. And to the point that the library relies on town funding to budget and plan taking away West Bath's dollars for the patent-free library doesn't allow them to plan all of the services, again, that everyone else has spoken of. So I think the savings is not there. I don't think that's a real argument for it. And I think I would just say that I second everything that everyone has said about the value of supporting patent-free library.
This is a really good point. At the beginning of the meeting, we talked about the total budget. Can we get a percentage of that total budget, that $8,300?
It's minuscule.
It's not a savings.
You would not know.
A fraction of 1%. I just think it's worthwhile to say that out loud.
There was a hand over here, I don't know who had it up. No?
So let's go to the gentleman right here.
The past couple of weeks, I've been going through a formula that I didn't write down, just in my head. What are the benefits and consequences of these options to the patent-free library, to the town of West Bath, and to each of us as residents? This is the first time I've heard anything about saving money for West Bath. I'm all for negotiating our contribution with the library, if it comes to that, but this is the first time I'm hearing, what do you mean lowering the tax rate? How would this lower our tax rate?
It's $8,300 on a $4 million tax bill, or $7 million tax bill, it's gonna be minuscule in
Well, I've heard
reduction.
that before.
And then the lady next to you was next?
Yeah, I just don't understand how we're mixing the concept of supporting the institution of a public library and all the services that come with it to a single library card and where it comes from.
It's actually library
Because you
choice.
can go, okay, library choice. I go online, I order a book, and it comes from libraries all over the state. Yes. That's library choice. I get a book from all over. It's done for me through the Minerva system at the patent-free library.
Darlene was next?
Yeah, so I debated on whether I was going to say anything this evening, because I know that the library, everyone, a lot of people in town are very passionate about the library. Don't misunderstand, I think the library is a wonderful thing. I think that all libraries are wonderful things. I just got a really ill feeling at the meeting from the discussion and I'm sorry, I thought he was the director of finance, not the trustee, head of whatever, that it didn't matter how big the endowment was, 8.4, 9.4, they were still gonna be coming for us every year with an increase. And the attitude bothered me to the point where I thought it was relevant to tell the townspeople that we may be in for more and more and more increases, and it felt like they were not looking out for the people who, yes, it's a wonderful library and the people that go there they care about, but I don't think, it didn't seem to me like they were caring about the communities that they serve. If you can get that distinction, the way that they presented themselves at that meeting. At one point, she said, oh, it's only $3,000, what's the big deal? It's not $3,000, it's $44,500. So that is why I brought it up. I wanted you all to be aware that that's the gist I got from it. And be prepared for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 increases in the years to come.
Well, and the entire budget committee also challenged the decision of it prior to coming to the select board. They voted on it. I'm sorry, the budget committee voted to not.
Die
Well, let's be clear, the first vote, the first motion for the budget committee was to recommend no funding for the library. That did not pass the budget committee. The second motion was to make no recommendation at all, and that passed 4-2, not to make a recommendation. And the intent was let the town meeting decide on funding the library.
I think it is totally reasonable to be concerned about policies taken by your library and to disagree with them. But I think the idea that in the response to that is to pick up sticks and head out to Cumberland County, head out wherever. I don't live there, I live here. The idea that we're going to abandon a community institution because of a disagreement with the way it's being run seems to me, reactionary and foolish in the extremes, rather than trying to address the problem at the root. I think these are valid concerns. I don't disagree with that. I just think the idea that we're going to, the response is that I'm just going to choose my library. That's not how public institutions work. That's not how acting for the public good works.
Joanne?
Do they have a formula to base their requests on? Like,
Yes.
so many people in your town,
Mm-hmm.
or so many particles?
Per capita.
It's per person, they come up with a
By
fee
census.
per person and they charge based on the last census, so we've got like 1,910, is their formula.
Although Bath is increasing
Correct me if I'm
compared to the
wrong.
rates in the other
Not
four
sure
towns.
trustees know it. It's my understanding that they abandoned that formula this year to actually lower what they asked from us from what the formula recommended.
They raised the city of Bath.
It's in their bylaws how they're supposed to allocate it, and they have decided to ignore that to lower the contribution they're asking for.
And actually, there may be a bylaw change, but it's recognizing that Bath does have benefits of having had a free library in the city. So that's a change, and if that goes through, that's gonna require a bylaw change, because it has to be per capita,
Right.
across the board.
But the rate still went up over $2 per person in town. So it may have gone way up and then come back down, but it still went up.
Sure. And when we're talking about the cost, we also have to recognize that they hold our historical society records, which will go away if we're no longer a member of the community.
Right. And
And
people
there's a cost
spend,
to store those.
people
And
kind of
it's
still
more
go
than
there.
$8,000, I suspect.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm Donnelly, I'm also a trustee representing West Bath Capital Library. If you would like a handout of all the things you will lose if you have library choice, we can pass those out for you so you have that information so you can choose wisely. So I will pass them to the front, pass them to the side, pass them to the back.
Hi.
We're gonna just briefly go on to 29, and if we want to discuss more, we can, if that's okay? Yep. Article 29 is to see which option the town would like to fund with Article 28, written ballot requested. Budget committee did not review this article. Option A would be patent-free library. Option B would be library of individual choice. Option A would be to fund the patent-free library in full, or option B would be for an individual resident to obtain a library card at a library of their choice within Cumberland, Lincoln, or Saginaw counties, and will be reimbursed by the town up to $85 per resident cardholder per year, limited to the amount approved in Article 28.
Is there a system for how that would happen? Have we done something like this before?
We have not done something like this before, but our town administrator assures us that she could meet that requirement.
With no extra clerical fee?
Julie, do you want to answer that?
We'd reimburse with proof of purchase, and it would go on a regular warrant with all the other bills.
What's that? I don't know.
It would be reimbursed. We do a warrant to pay our bills twice a month,
Okay,
and it would be put on those warrants.
with no extra clerical fee.
We'll be doing the warrant anyhow, so,
Paying for all those checks.
we don't pay for our checks.
Yes.
Am I correct if that option is exercised, then our names would be on public record of holding a card, which would be actually a breach of confidentiality. Yes, I'll repeat that. Am I correct in this following statement, that if the town votes to have library choice, and I am reimbursed for $85 for a fee for a library card, then in turn, because the town is reimbursing me, by law, you have, by public record, my name is now on public record that I purchased a library card because you reimbursed me. Therefore, it's a breach of my confidentiality of having a library card, my name is on public record. Am I correct in that statement?
You are
Thank you.
The warrant would be a public record.
Thank you.
Yes. How would the town's citizens have any idea that they could go to the library and go through all of this and go to the town hall? Are they gonna be given cash in return? I mean, it seems like a really convoluted system, whereas if I go to the Patton Library, I get a membership card, I'm done. It just seems like a really complicated system for using the patent-free library. How will the citizens be notified? They have the option.
Come to town meeting.
And
Well, it's on the website, I mean, it's no different than how we notify everybody on
I mean,
what's
if I'm
happening.
a working parent and I don't go to the town meeting, how do I have any idea that this is in place?
We send emails out, our town clerk sends weekly communications out, we've got the electronic timeout from it. It's no different on how we disseminate
I've
other
never gotten
information.
an email from the town.
If you haven't given her your email, you wouldn't.
Pardon?
If you haven't given her your email, you wouldn't be on her distribution list.
And how many of the town are on the distribution list?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How many residents are on the distribution list?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
It's
been growing for years.
It's very low right now.
This lady was next.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about families, and sorry Ben, but I'm thinking about Ben's family. If we were to go with option B, and his 4 family members want library cards, and it cost him over $300. I think that's, and the town's going to, West Bath will refund him for his 4 cards in the family, and then it only goes up to that $44,000. So if there's
Right.
more people, tough luck if they didn't get in before that $44,000 got used, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, wow.
And you're not supporting any libraries in the institution whatsoever. Very important.
It's an unfunded mandate. You may say that it's not inconsequential. I would say that it is consequential, that the town has to write checks, they have to turn around and do all these extra duties to be able to facilitate option B. And I don't think they need that kind of busy work.
Okay, Tom Van Orden again. I'm just gonna say once more, if everyone does this, you know, the patent-free library doesn't have a budget. I don't know how you can run a business if you don't know what's coming in for funds. You just can't shoot from the hip. And if we do it, everyone starts doing this, we're sunk. And you can't live off your endowment. That's not what endowments are for. We should have pride in our community and in this library. I may be just kind of a dumb guy, but I think we should be proud of it.
Here.
Yes, ma'am.
I hear 2 things about why we have option B, and one is to have library choice, but the other one is to save money or be fiscally responsible. And I wonder if going the route of, with budget committee in the future, if they would put the pressure on Patent Free Library to become one of the main reciprocal, become a member of the main reciprocal borrowing program, which opens up 67 main libraries to somebody who holds a library card that participates in that, which would somewhat solve the library choice issue. But keep our library, our patent-free library funding for everybody. And if that could be explored in the future. I think there's something to do with maybe the computer system isn't compatible or there's some glitch there, but putting pressure on the patent-free library to become one of those, to join that program might help solve both things. Wouldn't solve your savings of $8,000.
Yeah, just to answer that has been taken under consideration. Director was explaining that, and the only way that could be successful is if they could be guaranteed of the funding year to year, because what she described is that somebody could go and get a library card, at another library, and then take it and use the funds, or use it at patent-free library, but they're not getting the benefit of the funding. And so it's mainly you want to be able to have the support of all the surrounding municipalities for that to be successful. If that makes sense.
I don't quite get it, but I'll think on it.
So if we, say we voted for option B.
Yep.
And I went to Thompson, I bought a library card at Thompson.
Yep.
Got reimbursed.
Yep.
That library card that I paid for in Thompson.
Yep.
Would allow me to use everything that I use right now at the patent-free library without the patent-free library getting a penny.
Hey, I guess what I'm suggesting is that how come, although she's answered it, but I don't understand it, get the patent-free library to join that program. We continue to fund the patent-free library for everybody in the town of West Bath, but it would perhaps alleviate the people who are hoping for library choice.
The gentleman in the red shirt had his hand up. You had your hand up? No, you're all set. Then we will go.
The notion that we don't have library choice right now is an absurd one. I have never had trouble getting a book from the Minerva system. I have never walked into a library anywhere in the state, and I've been into a bunch. I work in them all the time. I've never walked in and asked for a card. I've never walked in and had someone say, "You're from West Bath, get out of here." We have library choice. We can go to this library, we can get the books we need, we can go to any other library in the state for free, which is the point of libraries.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Horn, did you hear?
Well, I guess what Ben said, they do have a lending program. I just got a book from Falmouth that we couldn't get anywhere else in the state. So I have choice.
And you can wait behind you.
I downloaded the list of the reciprocal program here, and I had misread it at first until today. And if you have a library card in Thompson, you actually can't use it in patent-free library. And I'll read the sentence. It says, if you have a valid library card from any of the libraries included in this reciprocal program before, you can use that card to check out materials from other libraries on this list. And patent-free is not on this list and isn't able to be on that list. So you couldn't pay for Thompson and then use it anywhere. You could only use it on the...
But that's why patent-free library isn't on that list, to avoid that possibility.
I don't know the ins and outs of that, the trustees would, but...
Yeah, it hasn't come before, but since I've been a trustee, that has not come up, but when we asked about it, that was one of the rationales, that it's not coming up. And getting on the list, because if we're not funding, people are able to start using the services, and that would be a sacrifice.
That's the reason why we're using them.
And that's what Minerva is about.
Did you have something?
I was trying to understand,
allows us to get books all over the state and beyond probably. And I know that if I want to use a room at the Curtis Memorial Library, that they will make it available for people that ask. So I can't understand what is the benefit of having a Topsom library card instead of using our town library. None of that makes any sense to me. Go ahead.
I guess, just in following up those of, I can't have a Topsom card and go to the Bath Library and take out a book, but I can have a Bath Library card and get a book from other libraries through interlibrary loans. So I guess I can't take my Bath Library card and go to Topsom and take out a book, but I can go to the Bath and have them order a book and they'll come. Yeah, which is incredible service to me. It comes from all over the state. And I get told it's at the Bath Library, I pick it up, I read it, I bring it back.
Exactly.
It's just incredible to me that we can do that.
And if you're homebound, they'll deliver the book to your house. If you're a
Which is one of the
Yeah,
things that
I
stop.
didn't know that.
If we support.
That's what we support.
You have a question?
Well, I just was gonna say, it seems like where there may have been some confusion is what is the Minerva system versus this other system that, that Sally was talking about. And I think we all agree that the Minerva system allows us, because we have a card from Pat Free Library, to get any book from within the state. And that's a wonderful choice. And so I think I'm probably reiterating what all of you guys have been saying, but I get it. Okay.
So what is the advantage that you're presenting with the people that you're representing, Suzanne, about library choice, given the Minerva system?
It allows them to choose a library wherever they'd like to go.
They can go to any
You
library.
can do that now, you can walk into any library.
And with the school and our children with school choice, we have 25% of our population is engaged in our school choice and opportunity.
We're not talking about school choice.
But that allows them.
This is the library discussion
No,
tonight.
that actually, the library of where their school is, Tyler actually went to the Curtis Memorial Library through Brunswick School. We paid the difference from what West Bath covered, and we sent him to Brunswick, and he used Curtis Memorial Library as a student.
Right, but he could do that with or without a card at the library. Can't take out a book, but they're not going to, anybody can go into a library and use a public library.
So we could get any book we wanted at Patton and still use the Curtis Library.
Programming at that.
Yeah.
Programming at Curtis.
It's for the community to decide. It's not up to me, it's up to the community.
Well, I guess I don't understand what the benefit is of what is being presented here. I don't see that what's the benefit? We already can walk into any library. We can get any book through the Minerva system at any library. So why would you need to call it library choice when you can do that through the Patent Free Library?
But you can't go in and take a book out at Curtis Memorial. If you're at, you have to have it shipped from them to your library.
Or your house.
Or your house. You can't, if you don't have a card at the library, you can't go in and take the book out there.
But
And
you
is
can
that
order
an
it, so that's,
incredible hardship?
So that's
It's
it.
not up to me, it's up to the community.
Okay,
That's the benefit then. Being able
I
to
was
walk in and
at,
walk out.
I was at the meeting last night, and first off, I was amazed the meeting was even happening. You weren't there. And at the end of it, I asked, okay, where are all these people who want choice? Why are they not in this room? You just told me earlier that nobody's talked to you about wanting choice. You said that. It's in the record. So where is this coming from? Is this a personal crusade?
It is absolutely not a personal crusade. I'm in favor of school
I'm
choice,
saying nobody else.
because they're not here tonight.
Let's
You know,
focus on
So
the
can I
article,
take-
not
yeah.
personality.
This is
Can we-
It's the origin.
I am sorry.
The vote, lady over here in the
Later.
black jacket, please.
I just have a comment. If we're using students and school choice as sort of a point for the library choice, on the list, if we did not fund the patent-free library, we would not have a partnership with West Bath School anymore, so that's 75% of our students that would lose out for the 25%. If we're using school choice as a point, then we're sacrificing 75% to give 25% a choice.
You're making the assumption that no one's going to get a library card at the patent-free library. You're still, as part of the program, you can go to patent-free, you can go to Curtis, you can go wherever you want to go for the library.
Except you're pulling funding.
Yeah, I'm just
from this
stating
library.
on the list, it says that the partnership with West Bath School Services would be discontinued. So I know that the children from West Bath could go get library cards hypothetically if they wanted to, but the partnership at the school level from the library level would no longer be an option.
Service the programs.
Right.
I think Darlene was next.
Again, I apologize for opening up the big can of worms, and I would propose respectfully that everyone has good points, but can we please vote on it at town meeting and move on? It is after 7 o'clock.
Okay, I'm sorry, one more thing. Why is it a written ballot that's requested? Why does it say that and not just a regular vote? Written ballot requested, why that?
So you can vote in private.
Why do these two articles need to do that when none of the others do?
So that people can vote without being held accountable from being looked at from people in the room. It's giving them the chance to vote privately on what their position is.
And that's
Is that
necessary?
through the mail, or?
No.
No, there'll be a ballot box at town meeting that you'll check off your paper and stuff.
Is that unusual? I don't know why.
We've done that in the past on controversial issues, because some people don't feel safe.
Oh.
And there's actually one of the school articles by law requires a written ballot as well.
And if they don't vote to have a ballot vote, it does not.
David?
I agree, it's time to move on. I encourage all of these here to come to town meeting.
Amen.
If you want to vote, vote at town meeting. Please show
So
up.
can you made a comment at the beginning about 2/3 vote?
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
I believe, Julie can correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's a vote to change this article from the floor to the moderator, if 2/3 of those at the meeting vote to change an article in some way, you can't raise the dollar amount. You can lower a dollar amount, you can't raise it. You can change the wording of the article.
Is this tonight?
No,
Oh,
this is
town meeting.
at town meeting.
Thank you.
So I suggest we move on, and please show up at town meeting and vote.
And I think with the amount of support that we're seeing here, that usually it's the people that support that show up at town meetings, not against, so please don't. Yes.
Just as a final procedure, even if you have a vote on any particular article later on, it can be voted to bring the question back for another vote.
With 2/3.
With 2/3. So stay at the meeting for the full meeting. Come and stay.
Enjoy yourself.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Article 30. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 for planning board stipends. Last year's amount was $3,000.
Any discussion?
Article 31, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $7,500 for harbors and waterways. Last year was $11,600.
Article 32, shall the town of West Bath Marine Resource Conservation Ordinance be amended to remove the following language from section E, 3B, and 4B? Applicants, the language to be removed is applicants must not hold a shellfish license with another municipality.
That was removed from two other sections, and these were left out.
And the state's requiring us to make that. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to transfer $50,000 from unassigned fund balance surplus to the long-term capital improvement fund reserve account in order to replenish funds that were previously appropriated for capital improvement projects.
Article 34, to see if the town will vote to give all money received from the state of Maine for snowmobile registrations over to the registration to the Over the Hill ATV Club.
receive from the state of Maine for snowmobile registration.
Their vehicles, the registry, they actually have to
For
register.
snowmobiles.
Right, correct.
But what if you're not a member of the Overhill ATV?
That's okay, the ATV club helps fix the trails in the town of West Bath. so
They
that-
clean the roads, and people ski on those, it's not just snowmobile.
Right, okay.
Do we know how much money that is? Does it impact?
It depends on how many snowmobiles
But in the
you
past-
register. It's under 500.
Yes. You see them not cleaning up the road.
Do you want to come up, or you want us to read?
You
like that call and response approach last year?
You guys are doing wonderful.
All right, so we're going on to the West Bath School, part of the budget, Article 35, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for regular education. This article covers salaries and benefits for regular education teachers and support personnel, as well as classroom supplies, equipment, books, and repairs for grades K through 5. This article also includes the contracted services for pre-kindergarten students and tuition costs for students in grades 6 through 8. This is $2,828,360.86.
Grade 6 through 12.
Yes. Thank you.
Can I just ask, why are the expenses separated out like this versus just school budget period?
School warrants have to be split out this way, in this format and this structure.
I only ask because if I was the person with a child with special education, I'm going to feel really weird in the community when my child requires more money spent. So
It
it doesn't
is
feel good.
an awkward
Yes.
experience in a small town.
Thank you.
Article 36.
Yep.
To see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend on special education. The explanation being, this article provides salaries and benefits for special education teachers and support personnel, K through 12 program tuition, staffing, and out-of-district placement and professional services. The school board of directors recommends $903,002.73.
Article 37, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for career and technical education. Explanation is career and technical education will be provided through RSU 1 and is included in tuition rates. School board of directors recommends $0.
Are there any students doing it right now from our town?
It's all part of school choice, so it would be folks who are going to RSU 1 or Brunswick, or part of that program and the fees we pay for that. I'm not sure. Do you know if we have?
We do have 35 students participating in vocational programming. 35.
Article 38, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for other instruction. This article includes costs to provide students with learning experiences not included under other programs, co-curricular, extracurricular activities. School board of directors recommend $4,500.
Article 39, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for student and staff support. This article covers salaries and benefits for guidance, help, technology, improvement of instruction, staff development, library, and student assessment. The school board of directors recommends $362,782.78.
Article 40, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for system administration. This article provides salaries and benefits for the office of the superintendent. It also covers expenses for the school board of directors, financial software, insurance, advertising dues and fees, legal fees, and auditing expenses. The school board of directors recommends $104,606.36.
Article 41, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for school administration. This article includes salaries and benefits for the principal and support staff. It includes equipment, supplies, dues and fees, and contracted services. School board of directors recommend $204,835.04.
Article 42, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for transportation. This article covers expenses for transporting students in grades K through 12 to and from school. The recommendation is $195,634.96.
Article 43, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for facilities maintenance. This article covers expenses for facilities operations and contracted services for the West Bath School and grounds. School board of directors recommends $237,736.
Article 44, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for debt services and other commitments. There is no current outstanding indebtedness related to the West Bath School. School board of directors recommends 0.
Article 45, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for other expenditures, including food service. This article covers expenses related to the food service program. The school board of directors recommends $50,000.
Article 46, to see what sum the town will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from the pre-K to grade 12 as described in the Essentials Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the town will raise and assess as a municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in accordance with the Maine Revenue Statutes Title 20-A, Section 15688. State mandated explanation is the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essentials Program and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by the state law to be the minimum amount that the town must raise and assesses in order to receive the full amount from state dollars. The school board of directors recommends a total appropriated of $3,021,731.45. School board of directors recommends total raise $2,686,957.85.
Article 47, a written ballot is required to see what sum the town will raise and appropriate in additional local funds. The school board of directors recommend $1,869,727.28, which exceeds the state essential programs and service allocation modeled by. The school board of directors recommend $1,819,727.28 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board of directors. The school board of directors recommend the same amount for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding modeled by $1,819,727.28. The additional local funds represent local costs to support school budget programs and services that are not included in the state's funding model, includes costs for transportations and special education services. State mandated explanation, the additional local funds are those locally raised over and above the town's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Program and Service Funding Act that will help to achieve the budget for educational purposes.
Article 48.
Yeah. Has anyone got to the bottom of what the state's essential service criteria is? And did I hear you say that something like special education was not included in essential services?
Yes, to the last part of your question, I'll defer to school on how that.
So the funding formula for public education includes teachers, guidance counselors, librarians, nurses, ed techs, library technicians, secretaries, administration, and it takes all of those positions and gives you a percentage of what your staffing should be based on the number of students you have. Goes through a long formula of adding in costs for for substitute teachers, for supplies and equipment, for professional development, leadership support, extracurricular, system administration support, operations and maintenance, and then it goes through a regional adjustment based on where in the state you are. Then you get funding based on the number of, or recommended funding based on the number of students you have at the pre-K level, the K-8 level, the 9 through 12 level, adult education, what your poverty rates are, what you're spending for gifted and talented, which is a reimbursement model, what you're spending on special education. So those are the pieces that all go into the formula. Then they tell you, based on the number of students you have and where you live, this is what's required to be able to fund your school. And so that gives you your essential programs and service number. But it does not include your tuition for your 6 through 12 students. It does not include special education services. It does not include transportation services. So all those things are on top of what they're saying you need to fund public education.
An interesting definition of essential, but okay.
They're mandated, but they're not essential.
Yes.
So Article 48 is a summary. It does not raise any additional funds. Article 48, to see what sum the town will authorize the school board of directors to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026 for the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Local funds for non-state funded school construction, debt service, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20A, Section 15690, undesignated fund balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. This article is a summary article and approves expenditures for the proposed budget of $4,891,458.73. This article authorizes the school board of directors to spend revenues in the amounts appropriated in the previous articles. This article does not raise any additional money. The estimated revenue sources are local contribution of $2,686,957.85. Additional local contribution of $1,869,727.28. Our state subsidy of $334,773.60 for a total of $4,891,458.73.
Can you repeat that?
I'll give you a copy, you can read it.
Article 49, shall the school board of directors be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, provided that transfer shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget. School board of directors recommends a yes vote.
Article 50, in addition to the amount in Article 14, shall the school board of directors be authorized to accept and expend any federal, state, or other grants, aid, and receipts during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026 for school purposes, provided that such grants, aids, and receipts do not require the expenditures of other local funds not previously appropriated. The school board of directors recommends a yes vote.
And Article 51, in the event that the town receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in this budget, shall the school board of directors be authorized to use all or part of the additional state subsidy to increase expenditures for school purposes and cost center categories approved by the school board of directors, increase the allocation of finances in a reserve fund approved by the school board of directors, and or decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20A, Section 1567A1B for local property taxes for funding public education as approved by the school board of directors. The school board of directors recommends a yes vote.
Article 50, in addition to the amount in Article 14, is that referring to return checks, or is that a typo?
Sorry, say that again.
Article 50, in addition to the amount in Article 14.
Yes, it is a typo.
Okay.
What one is it, Emily?
Article,
41. It's like 41 on your list.
Return checks.
Be 45 or 48.
48.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.